Great to be here today. Obviously, about halfway through camp. Our players and staff looking forward to playing at Aztec Stadium and scrimmaging on Saturday night. First time for a lot of new guys. We got a ton of new players, so it'll be great to get out there back on the grass and the excitement, get in front of our fan base. Hopefully we'll get a lot of people out there and go out there and cut it loose. And then after that, it's a couple of weeks, or less than 2 weeks after that game, actually, and we play Stanford. So looking forward to that opportunity on Saturday night. Questions?
Has there been any progress in the search for the backup for Juwan?
Good progress. There's, I think, 3 guys really competing. I think I really like Chase Jasmine, the way he finished the season last year. Fortunately, in spring ball, he got hurt the first week, so he missed the rest of spring, but he's come back strong. He's practicing well. I think Chance Bell and Kagan Williams both are very capable also. In the past, we've played 3 tailbacks a lot. We just got to plug them in at different spots. But, you know, I think let's get through Saturday night and kind of see where it's at after that. But I know during the course of the season we'll probably need all 4 of them. And 2 freshmen are also highly involved also.
How important is it going to be to have that backup to Juwan, just because obviously this past couple of years you've had a stud backup every single year?
You know, I think that's huge. You know, we've kind of developed a 1A, 1B, so to speak, with the running backs, and hopefully whoever that guy may be is able to step up in that role. I think that's why we've been effective running the football over the past 7 years, and you know, with the guys up front, you know, I think hopefully that will continue.
How's Juwan doing yesterday? Because he seemed to be out of a lot of the first team reps.
Well, when we scrimmage, I've done it since I've been here. There's no reason for the starting tailback to scrimmage. You know, they get enough hits during the year. He knows what he's supposed to do. I don't see any reason for him to get beat up when we're not keeping score for real. It's a chance for those other players to step up and show what they got. But I've always done that with the starting tailback. So he should be doing good. He should be fresh because he's not beat up.
Hey, Jeff, the last few years, 6, 7, 8 years going back, it's just a natural progression for the lead running back here. Amazing stats, amazing, you know, time after time, amazing players. Is there any doubt that Washington will not be ready for the moment to keep that tradition going and reach the numbers and the stats that those guys have had, or you know this is a home run back?
Well, I think that's measured in different ways. You know, is he going to rush for 2,000 yards? I'm not going to put that pressure on somebody. That's the first time NCAA history where 2 different guys have rushed for 2,000 yards, so it's not like it happens all the time. I know Juwan's ready to assume the role. He's proven he can make plays at this level. He's a big-time playmaker. The thing he has to do is just continue to do what he always does. Nobody's going to gain any yards unless we do a good job of blocking people up front and receivers blocking, tight ends and all them. Feel really confident with those guys. You know, that's what we base our program on, being able to run the football, and we're anticipating, hopefully, that we can continue to do that.
Can you compare and contrast him to Humphrey and Penny before?
You know, he's probably in between them, you know, because he's a little big, you know, he's smaller. You know, he's, 5'7", maybe stretching it. But he weighs 190 pounds, so he's heavier than Pumphrey. He kind of has deceptive speed. It looks like he's gliding sometimes, but when you've seen him run back to kickoffs for touchdowns or break long runs, he can certainly go get it. He has a real uncanny way of being able to slide through holes. And I don't know if, he's running behind all those big guys that the other team doesn't see him until it's too late once he's by them. But, and when he needs to, he can be a physical back. And, he's not just a small back. He can bring a little wallop with him, and he understands the blocking schemes and what we're trying to get to.
What about personality-wise? What's he like compared to those?
He's a much bigger clown. He's got a dynamic personality. Since even when he redshirted as a freshman, he's always dancing around the field. He's always got his song. He's quick off the cuff to be able to say things, to pop on people, and he's just fun to be around. He's never had a bad day on a football field or even in our meetings too. You'll never see him without a big smile. It's great to see. I always say it's great to see young people smile and having fun, and he certainly leads the parade in that.
Coach, they talk about the tradition with the running back position, but fullback position as well. What's that looking like for this year? What do you have?
Yeah, Isaac Lassard and Chad Woosley are our two guys. Isaac started the UNLV game last year when Nick had thumb surgery. Feel very confident in him. He's a big kid, 6'3", 240 pounds, 45 pounds. He can cover you up. You know, he came in as a linebacker. We got him over to the good side on the offensive side and put him at fullback, and he's done a good job when he's been able to play in the past. 90% of our offense goes through the fullback. So much like Chad Young, Dakota Gordon, and Nick Bodden, now it's Isaac's turn. Chad Woosley's a guy that walked onto the program a few years ago from right here in town. He's really stepped his game up. He was a tailback for us before. We were a little thin at fullback, so he put on 20 pounds for us. He's beefed up, and he's as tough as they come. He's like Nick right now. He's got a big cast on his arm and everything, and the big Q-tip we talk about, but I think that'll be off before the season starts. But if not, with Nick wearing it all last year, we certainly know how to adjust to that.
So Juwan seems to be pretty active on social media. Are you ever concerned of him reading too much of what Sports Illustrated has to say about the legacy of what it means to be San Diego State running back? Are you ever concerned about that?
No, I think he's pretty level-headed. You know, I was fortunate enough to recruit Juwan. I know his family. You know, he's a great young man. I don't think he gets caught up in all that. He's pretty carefree and has a great life to him, and he knows the things that are important. He knows what's important to him and important to his football team, and I don't think he'll get caught up in any of that stuff.
Hey Jeff, with regards to Chapman at quarterback, is there anything skill-wise, arm strength, anything that will allow this year to be a little more dynamic in the passing game, or is it simply he's more experienced, or is there anything that he's done that may allow you guys to take some more chances to get more yards?
Yeah, one thing he's done is help us win football games. You know, you can't argue with that. Again, I know I talk to some people. We live in a world of numbers. You know, you want to know how many followers you have, how many tweets you put out, all those different things. So with a quarterback, everybody wants to know how many yards have you thrown for. Well, I threw for 3,500 yards. Now, we won 4 games, but, hey, I threw for 30. Who cares? You know, we care about he does what we want him to do. Very unselfish young man. Each year he's gotten better. I mean, he's a coach on the field. He gets us into the right plays, run game. He changes protections. We work hard on our passing game. You know, you can't do both. You know, you're not going to throw the ball all over the field and run the ball all over the field. It's not just going to happen. Our strength is running the football. I think over the past several years we've gotten better throwing the football. I feel very confident in Christian if it came down to it that we could execute, and if we had somebody was stuffing us on a run, then we got to be able to throw the football better. And I really feel that he could do that. I think our receiver group is really maturing. It's a very young group. You have Fred Trevelyan, that's a senior. Everybody else really are redshirt freshmen or freshmen, but there's some big skill kids in there we're excited about. 2 tight ends that can really play very well. So I think we'll be able to, hopefully when the time presents itself, be able to get the ball downfield. And we have to make bigger chunk plays down the field because it's hard to move the ball 60, 70, 80 yards in just 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards. We need to get those big chunks to help us.
Last year, there's a lot of talk about an inexperienced offensive line, and you still have a running back lead the nation in rushing. This year, with them being experienced, where's the most visual example going to be of them being experienced?
Well, I think, you know, it's interesting. We feel in a short year's time, the way those guys have matured and come on, there's some great competition right there now. Zach Thomas is fighting for a starting job in there, even though all 5 starters were back from last year, you know, that finished the year. And you know, their maturity level, you know, what we want to see is, even though we had a good season last year, you know, Coach Smith being the O-line coach, there's so many more things that we can get better at, and we don't want those guys to be satisfied with where they're at. And so he's done a great job of challenging them to get better fundamentally, knowing it, recognizing defenses, doing different things. And we look for those guys to take an even bigger jump. You know, this year, whether that means we lead the nation in rushing or not, that's a hard thing to predict. But I think just being able to see and understand things, and then in our pass protection, that was probably one of our weaknesses last year, that we should be much better, you know, with that also.
Coach, how much are you preparing your offense to match up against opposing defense this year? Are you more focused on your first opponent or just the season as a whole in preparing those guys to match up against?
You know, it's all basically against Stanford. I mean, I know we'll have our hands full with them. They're the 13th ranked team in the country. They're big and strong. these first 2 weeks basically just been all against our defense and going against them and just trying to implement our offense, not game plan against our defense. Starting next week, we'll start going against Stanford looks and scout teams and stuff, and then we'll really hone in on the game plan over those last 9 practices.
Do you see Fred's role changing much this year?
I'd certainly like to see Fred really step up and be the leader of the receiver group, be much more consistent with his play. He's a dynamic receiver. He led the nation in yardage per receptions last year. Obviously, we'd like to get him, quadruple what he got last year because he's a dynamite player like that, and he can really stretch the defense, and he'd be a big reason for getting those big chunks, that he'll be a big part of that. I think now that he's back and he's been here over a year now, that he's really just got more comfortable with what we're trying to do and what we're asking of him. And I look for him to really have a big year. He's really worked hard and trying to be a leader out there with the receiving group.
Do you see Christian spreading the ball around more this year? Obviously, Micah being gone, he's lost his go-to guy.
Yeah, and I think that's crucial. I think you got Fred there and Tim Wilson, Isaiah Macklin, other receivers that are coming back. You got Parker Houston, Kahali Ware in there at tight end, and we always get the running backs involved a little bit with that. So to me, it doesn't matter where it's going. I think obviously you want to be able to spread it around to different people, but I still think you got to have kind of that bell cow guy. That's the guy that's got to be the leader there, and we're hoping that Fred can do that, and I think he really can.
Is it tough to recruit receivers when they know you're coming to the program? We're going to be doing a lot of blocking?
It is. You got to find the right guy. Just like I said earlier, a lot of those people, they come out of spread offenses where they'll catch 50, 60, 70, 80 balls a year. You're not going to catch 80 balls here a year. We try to sell them it's a NFL passing game. It's a downfield passing game. You're not catching 20 little bubble routes or whatever and doing those things. So we got to go after the right kind of kid, and the kid has to be here. He knows he's going to have to block. He's going to have to go in there and put his nose on those safeties coming down and crack on those linebackers. So you got to find the right kind of kid, and fortunately we've been able to do that.